Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your dredge guy, and today I have some beautiful deck to show you here on this humble channel about dredge, focused on dredge decks. This is what I've been playing last week with huge success in legacy leagues on Magic Online. This is the inclusion of Ashen Rider in the main deck. This absolutely beast usually is in our sideboards or not played at all. But since now we don't need to worry that much against Reanimator decks, being everywhere, and even reanimating our Ashen Rider, we can even play Ashen Rider in the main deck. And this is excellent, because one, this just frees up one of our spaces in our sideboard. We don't need to include Ashen Rider in the sideboard, so we can keep 4 copies of Unmask, even if you want to play Ashen Rider in this new metagame. And 2, we have access to an exiling effect or a removal effect on game 1. And this is huge against some decks, like for example Lance, that now is being played by more than 5% of the players. And every time we are slightly behind, for example, your opponent played the Chalice of the Void, you managed to naturally dredge, but now you cannot resolve your Cabal Therapies, and they are important somehow for some reason. And then you just exile Chalice of the Void with Ashen Rider. You can exile Tabernacle, you can exile an opposing creature like an Atraxa, for example. This is excellent against Show and Tell decks because your opponent can resolve Show and Tell, and maybe Ashen Rider is in your hand. Even if you don't have Ashen Rider in your hand, you can find Ashen Rider easily because we are a dredge deck. We can mill our entire deck in a glance, and then we can find Ashen Rider to exile an Emrakul, for example. Ashen Rider is so important to fight in a diverse metagame like we are living in. So I am a fan of this card. For a long time, I used Ashen Rider as my face on Discord because Ashen Rider is that good. I love this card. But sometimes we don't have room for it in our sideboard or in the main deck. I think it's the time to include Ashen Rider in the main deck, at least this month. After Lowering or other release, maybe the metagame will need to adapt our deck to the new metagame again. But if you are an old friend here of this channel, if you watched me playing different dredge decks in Legacy, you know that this archetype is being constantly changed a little bit here, a little bit there to fight the metagame. And this is, considering the online metagame that I'm living in, this is, for me, one of my best experiences playing dredge in the last couple of years. Like, I am winning a lot, and let's hope that this league that I'm recording here will be good to show you the power of this deck. Dredge is criminally underplayed in today's Legacy, probably because it's not that easy to pilot, but probably because competitive players sometimes don't dedicate some time to really understand what this deck is capable of. And let's showcase the power of this deck right now. I hope you enjoyed this league with me. Hopefully you have a good result, a good showing of the deck. Please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. The best way to support my work here on this channel is, of course, being a patron. If you want to see my Patron with guides to play my dredge decks in every format, you can check my Patron page, patreon.com/thedredgeguy. But if you're not interested, you're just looking for some fresh content about dredge here, the best and simple way to support me here is following this channel. So don't forget to click that subscribe button. And now let's start this Legacy League right now. I want to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Guys, you are awesome. And I can create content because of your continuous support. If you also want to help me as a content creator, please go there, check my Patreon page, patreon.com/thedredgeguy. See you there. Round 1, we are paired against limmycouture. We're on the draw. I will keep this because we have 3 lands and 2 enablers. This is not the best hand, this is not a broken hand, but this is perfectly acceptable when you're on the draw without knowing what your opponent is playing. Limmycouture. Mishra's Bubble usually represents the tempo deck. Loot the Delta and passes, alright. We already have on Dredger, so we'll probably just cast Faithless Looting here. This way we'll be immune to Wasteland. Let's see what we draw. Okay, Basic Island is also good. So if this is a tempo deck, having basic lands is excellent. Let's see if this will resolve. I bet this will not resolve, let's see. Yeah, Force of Will. Exiling another one. So probably my opponent doesn't have Daze, and this is good news for us. We can cast Otherworldly Gaze and even flashback Faithless Looting in the future. My opponent has Thundering Falls. They are not interested in Murktide Regent. They probably want more counter spells or maybe Cory Steelcutter. So Volcanic Island for my opponent. Preordain, alright. Slightly different play. Tempo players sometimes include 1 or 2 copies of Preordain in their mix. And actually Factual Delver here. So basic island, let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. This will probably resolve. My opponent has only 2 cards in their hand. Okay, we have our best treasure. I don't think we need anything here. We can put everything into our graveyard. And next turn we can flashback looting after looting, unless my opponent has waste. We have 2 Narcos in our hand. And if we need, we can even cast Narcos since we have 2 basics. So we are pretty safe here. Delver didn't flip. Okay, my opponent has a Murktide. And they still have 2 cards in their hands, so they might have days at this. Let's dredge 6. Okay, we have several dredgers there. Since my opponent might have Lightning Bolt, I think we'll just cast looting, right? The coward play would be just casting Sneak Imp as a blocker, but my opponent has days too. My opponent could have Lightning Bolt here. That's okay, we can still do the same next turn. This is still a small Murktide, just a 5/5. Just a worse Shivan Dragon. Core Steel Cutter for my opponent. Oh, and their last card was a Mishra's Bubble waiting for the right moment, I see. Now we are behind, but I still trust our deck here. I lived several situations similar to this one in the past, and usually we win the game as the winner. So, okay, Nakomiba, great. We have Poxwalkers there. We'll win this. My opponent is Hellbent. For some reason, my opponent didn't crack Mishra's Bubble yet. Let's cast Looting, getting Poxwalkers. We are pretty safe to resolve all of our spells here. Dredge 6 and Dredge 4. We have Anger, we have Breach, we have another Poxwalkers and Therapy. 2 blockers for Flyers, opposing Flyers. We don't have anything interesting to be reanimated with Dredge Return, but let's create some zombies first. My opponent is Hellbent, so let's just discard our Grave Trolls. Actually, I think we might have lethal here. Because we already have our 3 Breaches and 3 Poxwalkers. I think we have lethal, guys. Yeah, I was thinking just how to survive on extra turn and to win next turn, but because we have Anger and all of our enablers, all of our threats are in our graveyard, 3 Poxwalkers and 3 Bridges, I think we already have the win here. So let's discard our Grave Trolls. It's so good to be surprised by your own deck and having unexpected wins like this one. And this is something that we have some lag here, so I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the deck. This is something that you must prioritize when playing against Tempo. Prioritize lands. You don't need to dredge faster than your opponent's plays. Prioritize lands and flashback your spells, and you usually will win game 1. This is something that I wrote on my recent sideboard guide, available on my Patron. Check it out. Okay, I think it will work now. Let's sacrifice Poxwalkers to have lethal on board. This is a curious thing about Anger. You don't even need to resolve your Dread Return, you only need to cast it. If you already have 3 Bridges in your graveyard, you will create 9 hasty zombies, and you don't need to resolve Dread Return. Usually in the past, what you would reanimate was the most important choice, but because now we have Anger, if you have a Mountain, of course, Anger is not always active, but if you have Anger and a Mountain, usually you just win out of nowhere. So I think I'll do the right thing here. I'll still sideboarding like this for unmasking 2 shenanigans, especially on the draw. In rare occasions, your blue-red Tempo opponent will not have Gravedigger's Cage, but they usually have Gravedigger's Cage and Surgical. So it's important to have answers. Game 1 is ours, but games 2 and 3 are slightly harder to win. This is good for game 2. Having Unmask plus 2 enablers and access to basic lands, sign me up. We'll find our Dredge. My opponent is mulliganing. They kept 6 cards on the play. Misty, Cracking Misty, Dragon's Rage Channeler. Alright, so this is a good play if my opponent has a counterspell or a Surgical to back it up, but our Unmask will do what we need to do. Let's see how we need to sequence our 2 spells. Okay, my opponent had a Force of Negation, exiling Murktide Regent, and now they have only 2 cards in their hand. The question is, are they protecting a Surgical Extraction, or this is just to hide information, since we will take Force of Negation anyways. So let's see if this LED will resolve. It is in play. Now we get our basic island and cast Otherworldly Gaze. Days, alright, it's fine. We don't care that much. We can try again next turn with 2 basics in play. We don't want to discard our hand immediately just to cast an Otherworldly Gaze. We have time. My opponent is a Tempo deck, but we have time. So Ponder, surveying Mishra's Bubble to the graveyard. This Darcy will achieve Delirium this turn, so it will be a 3/3 that must attack. Again, we have an Narcomoeba in our hands, so if everything goes wrong, we can even cast an Narcomoeba just as a blocker. Narcomoebas are so good in this matchup, being able to naturally stop Murktide attacks while doing your own thing and advancing your own game plan. It is so good. This is one of the main reasons why we are so strong against Tempo. Mishra's Bubble, and this is why good opponents playing Temple usually will try to surgical your Narcomoebas, so pay attention on that. Now we'll draw Lotus Petal is pretty good. We can cast Otherworldly Gaze around days if my opponent has a second copy. So let's do it. We really want to resolve this Otherworldly Gaze. Alright. Shenanigans in our graveyard, one copy of looting in our graveyard, the other on top, and we can wait one more turn. Since we have another land in our hand, we can cast both lootings next turn. Darcy attacks, and my opponent plays a Volcanic Island. We will not dredge one, we will draw our looting. Let's fin the deck first, grab in a Volcanic, and cast our first Faithless Looting. Here I think I would just... my opponent will brainstorm in response. I think I'll just dredge Shenanigans here, because every now and then you have exactly another good dredger on top. And I don't think you want to be lucky here and draw a Breakthrough or something like that. We already have 2 lootings in our graveyard after this spell. Unless my opponent has a second Force of Negation. Yeah, it's resolving. Let's dredge 1. Okay, and we found another dredger, Grave Troll. Perfect. Now we can cast 2 more lootings. We have 6 mana available to us. Let's not crack LED if you don't need to. This way we'll still play around days, and we even can find Ox of Agonas here. So dredge 6 and dredge 5. No Ox, but we have Narcos, we have Therapy, we have Poxwalkers. We have 2 main options here. We can... Well, let's see if my opponent has a Surgical, right? But I don't think so. I don't think my opponent has Surgical here. They could already cast Surgical before this moment. Yeah, Narcos are entering the battlefield. So we can cast Cabal Therapy. We have only 1. And if I cast Cabal Therapy, targeting my opponent here is just to cast my last Faithless Looting around days. On the other hand, since my opponent did cast a Brainstorm and nothing else, we could just go for it. If I had an Ox of Agonas, I will go for it. Just cast Ox of Agonas because I know that my opponent doesn't have Force of Will. But we are still playing around days here, so let's cast this Cabal Therapy. You know what? I don't think my opponent has anything. Aha, Lightning Bolt. This is something that you must pay attention when playing online. When you cast a spell and your opponent seems to have passed the turn, like I pressed F6, my opponent passed too quickly when I resolved Cabal Therapy. So Lightning Bolt is usually your better plan, your better choice when you resolve Cabal Therapy in this situation. So okay, my opponent just lost a Lightning Bolt because they are holding Consign to Memory, and now we have an easy win ahead. And my opponent now is thinking about what to disrupt here, but we have other spells in our graveyard. Yeah, Consign to Memory is not that good against us if you don't have at least 3 or 4 mana available, because usually your triggers come in multiples. You have 2 or 3 Poxwalkers triggering at the same time, simultaneous triggers of Narcomoebas, Bridges, and so usually not a good choice holding just 1 Consign to Memory. Stifle is different. Stifle can be pretty good against us, but Consign to Memory with a single mana, not that good. And now we are just reanimating Ox of Agonas, and there's nothing my opponent can do. They are hellbent. And we won our first match of this league. Let's go to our next one. Round 2, we're paired against MayhemDJ. I think this hand is fine. This can even be a turn 1. My opponent's name is not new. I think my opponent plays colorless decks. I'm not sure if... I'm thinking Mystic Forge or Eldrazi here. Or maybe Red Prison. Okay, just a Wasteland. Maybe it is a Temple deck. Or a Control deck. Maybe my opponent has Wasteland and... Well, it doesn't matter because we have a free path here unless my opponent has Force of Will. So LED, and now holding priority. You cast Faithless Looting and crack LED for 3 red mana. Dredge 5, Dredge 4. Alright. So far so good. We have Dredgers, Narco, Poxwalkers, and 2 Therapies and 1 Bridge. So that's a nice combination. Let's cast our second Faithless Looting. Poxwalkers enters the battlefield, and everything is resolving. So Dredge 5, Dredge 4. Now let's cast our first Cabal Therapy. My opponent will probably concede here, unless they have something really good in their hand. Yeah, my opponent conceded to hide information. So a Wasteland deck without counter spells. So maybe Eldrazi, but it might be just a Temple deck with a bad hand. How to sideboard in the blind. I will keep my gut here. I think my opponent is playing Eldrazi. I'll go with my gut. So I include 5 bounce spells here. I will sideboard how I would sideboard against Mystic Forge or Eldrazi deck. Or Prison deck. Because my opponent might be playing Chalice of the Void, so Breakthrough are slightly better than Otherworldly Gaze, especially on the draw. I usually cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1 against Chalice decks. They cast Chalice on 0 or Chalice on 1 or both, and then you have a Breakthrough. Let's see if my reading was correct or not. 2 answers to a possible Leyline, but this is not a good hand. Let's mulligan. Oh, this is a turn 1. Let's keep it. If my opponent has Leyline, we might be... Okay, my opponent doesn't have a Leyline, so maybe I was wrong. Oh no, it's Eldrazi. It that heralds the end. My opponent kept 7 cards, so I'm expecting maybe a Fairy Macabre or something. But with a hand like this, we will not play around anything, right? We'll just go for it. If my opponent has it, we will probably lose, but with this hand, we cannot lose to a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. We must go for it, and if my opponent has a Fairy Macabre or Surgical, it is what it is. So I'll play Scouting Turn. Let's grab a Volcanic Island, because if everything goes wrong and my opponent doesn't have a Wasteland, we can still top deck a Faithless Looting or something. And we crack here for red mana. Let's see what my opponent has. Fairy Macabre, alright. So we need to find Dredgers and Faithless Looting on top, or maybe Ox of Agonas. Just looting. And we have only one land. Let's cast this looting. If we don't, we'll just lose the mana. Okay, we found another Dredger, but our graveyard is not that good. Let's see if we can win naturally with just a Golgari Thug, or if we need to natural draw, trying to hit more lands and spells. My opponent attacks us, dealing 2 damage, and Kozilek's Command exiling our Golgari Thug. Now it's hard. Okay, Lotus Petal. I'm a fighter, guys. I will not concede here. My opponent is not threatening lethal in the next turn or something. They might need more lands here because they only had Eldrazi Temple in 2 lands. They are attacking with the Eldrazi Spell token. Oh, they have a cavern. All right. 3 colorless. 4. Okay, my opponent is casting something else. Another Kozilek's Command? Oh, Thought Not Seer. All right, my opponent had 1 this whole time. And now we'll draw Faithless Looting. Okay, I will not cast it immediately. We need to find another Dredger to... or maybe another Enabler, and then cast Looting. My opponent has only 3 cards in their hand, 2 now, after this. Okay, now we are probably losing the game. We have 1 turn to top deck something. Oh, no, actually my opponent has lethal. I thought for a moment that my opponent will deal only 13 damage. I'm not a scientist. So, math is for blockers. Okay, I will not sideboard against Leyline anymore. Several Eldrazi players, when they have Fairy Macabre, they don't have Leyline. It's good to find someone that mixes 2 different game plans against graveyard decks. So I think I will favor Otherworldly Gaze on the play, and that's it. We could also include the Shenanigans for a possible Chalice of the Void, but being on the play, I think Unmask is the most important thing we can have in our starting hand against my opponent. Good thing is, knowing that my opponent has Fairy Macabre, we can play around it, even if we don't have a way to discard Fairy. For example, this hand, we have 3 Dredgers. If my opponent tries to stop us activating Fairy Macabre, we will still have a Golgari Thug here. And this will probably be enough to cast Ox of Agonas soon. So this is actually pretty good. If my opponent doesn't have Fairy, this is a win on turn 1. If my opponent has Fairy, this is still probably a win on turn 2 at least. So let's see. My opponent also kept 7 cards, so that's scary. Let's crack Scouting Turn. Volcanic Island. LED. Now, unless my opponent has 2 Fairies. 2 Fairies will be hard to get a single Fairy. It's fine here. You can... Maybe my opponent doesn't have anything. Maybe they kept a hand with 2 or 3 Kozilek's Command. Is it resolving? Oh, okay, my opponent had a Fairy Macabre. But if this is only 1 Fairy, okay, Dredge 4. And that's it, but we can cast Ox of Agonas. So we discard everything, let's cast Ox. So good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 useless cards. Exactly 8 useless cards. Ox enters, Dredge 4, Dredge 6, and Dredge 5. We have Dredge Return, Cabal Therapy, Poxwalkers, 2 Therapies and 1 Breach. We can do that again, right? Let's cast Cabal Therapy, sacrificing Ox of Agonas. Even against Fairy Macabre, I think we'll have a turn 1 win here. Let's see. What's a name? Probably Kozilek's Command, right? Kozilek's Command. Yeah. And 2 Eldrazi Linebreaker. So my opponent will have only lands after that. And we'll still bring back Ox for another dredging action. So yeah, my opponent concedes. They know what's happening. We won our 2nd round. Let's keep going. Round 3, we are paired against wingzerofnc. My opponent is Show and Tell specialist. They usually play Sneak and Show, sometimes Omni-Tell. And I know him or them. They know me. And we have an Ashen Rider in our starting hand. So I think I'll keep this, guys. This is not good. We don't have any good enablers on turn 1 or anything. But we are on the draw and we have an Ashen Rider, which is our best answer, natural answer against Show and Tell decks. Since I know what my opponent is probably playing, I'll keep this sketchy hand. My opponent plays just Scouting Turn. That's interesting. Let's cast our Lotus Petal and just pass the turn. And since I only began to include Ashen Rider again in my main deck, my opponent might not be expecting it. So this seems just a slow start for both of us. Oh, LED. And we don't have Dredgers, so I can even cast LED, and if this resolves, I can cast Breakthrough using all my mana without cracking LED. Let's see. Oh no, my opponent has Force of Will. Okay, we took a stock up from my opponent's hand. We can still do that, right? Let's cast Narcomoeba first, because maybe we need creatures in the future to guarantee at least 1. And this is a good alibi for us. It seems that our plan was to resolve LED and crack everything to crack Cephalic Coliseum. Discard everything to crack Cephalic Coliseum. My opponent had a counterspell, so we'll probably... If you can play without discarding the Ashen Rider, I mean, this is just perfect against Show and Tell decks. My opponent didn't shuffle after that Ponder. They found another land, and they are passing, so they kept a slow hand with several counterspells. Another LED is great. Let's see. My opponent has 4 cards in their hand. Another Force of Will, exiting another stock up. This is actually good. My opponent is using their resources. And now we cast Breakthrough with X equals to 2. Great, we can keep Ashen Rider and 1 land in our hand. I think I'll keep Underground Sea. Let's attack with Narcomoeba. I'll not even play Underground Sea here. I think this way we avoid revealing to my opponent that we probably have something in our hand. If we keep only 1 card in our hand, my opponent might suspect that we have an answer. But keeping 2 cards after a breakthrough, this could be just a Faithless Looting Otherworldly Gaze, for example. If I play Underground Sea and don't do anything else, it is more suspicious. The mind games, the mind games. Okay, City of Traitors for my opponent. 2 cards in their hand after a brainstorm. And that's it. Wow, what a slow start for my opponent. They did exile 2 stock-ups, so that makes sense. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum immediately. Dredge 5, Dredge 6, great. Okay. We might win this without Ashen Rider, guys. We'll Dredge 6 now, in our draw step. Alright, we have several Poxwalkers, we have Cabal Therapy. Now I think I'll play my Underground Sea, and let's cast Cabal Therapy here. Because we probably have the win if our Dredge Return resolves and we get our Ox of Agonas. Okay, my opponent probably has Veil of Summer here. Oh, my opponent concedes. Alright. We won without showing our most important threat against this deck. Let's try like this. I like Show and Tell. I like Ox of Agonas against Show and Tell decks, but since now we have Ashen Rider, and we really need to include Shenanigans Pleasant Mask after sideboarding, I think keeping Ashen Rider is better. We have a higher ceiling with Ashen Rider in our deck compared to Ox of Agonas. I would like to keep both, but these days, opponents sometimes have 2 or even 3 Grafdigger's Cage, plus Fairy Macabre, plus Surgical or something like that. So this is a good hand. We don't have Dredgers yet, but we'll find them. We have lands, we have Disruption, we have 2 enablers. Volcanic Island for my opponent, Lotus Petal, alright, and passes. My opponent kept 6 cards. I think... No, let's not be that creative. I had an idea of how to sequence this, but let's cast Unmask first. Brainstorm, alright. My opponent is hiding information. If my opponent is playing Veil of Summer, they might need to cast it sacrificing Lotus Petal, which is actually fine for us. If my opponent counters or unmask, this is a 2 for 2, right? We used 2 cards, my opponent used 2 cards. Just a Force of Will, alright, so no Veil. Exiling Omniscience. Let's resolve our Lion's Eye Diamond, it will probably resolve. Alright, it's in play. Sorry. And Kraken's Scalding Turn here. Oh, my opponent has Stifle. Stifle! Stifle! Oh no. Well, we have more lands, but my opponent came back after sideboarding with a more control-ish game plan. I think this is my first time seeing Stifle in a Show and Tell deck. I don't remember this experience. This is probably my first time seeing that. So props to my opponent for creativity. We have 3 lands, so it's fine to lose one of them to a blue spell. What we need now is to resolve this Faithless Looting and find some Dredgers. We even have Cephalic Coliseum in our hand. So, Poxwalkers, okay, let's play our Volcanic and cast Looting. Alright, alright. Even against that Stifle and Force of Will, we'll probably win the game next turn unless my opponent finds a Graveyard Hate, or if they have... Yeah, they have only 1 remaining card in their hand. They used everything to fight our game plan, but this was not enough. Narcomoeba, do you have something against? No other Stifle, just 1 Stifle. Alright. Now, are we going for it? I think we are, right? I can... Okay, my opponent stopped for a long time in our draw step. Maybe it's just a bluff. I'll go for it. Let's discard everything to blue mana, and this way we can play around Fairy Macabre Surgical, targeting our Dredgers. Oh, is this Pyroblast? Pyroblast, alright. Okay, so my opponent is Hellbent. That means even if they have a great draw, they cannot win next turn. This is a 2-card combo deck. They need Show and Tell plus Threat or something like that. So we will probably just win here. Next turn, we can create some zombies. I don't need any of those cards. Let's put everything in our graveyard. We can create 2 more zombies. So we'll end this turn with 6, 7, 8, 12 power. So we win in a couple of turns. We need 2 more turns to win this game, naturally attacking with small zombies, Poxwalkers, and Archers. Let's name Sticker Goblin, our favorite choice when casting Cabal Therapy. Do you remember Name Sticker Goblin before being banned? It was so bad for the format. I mean, I know if you're a Goblin player, you're probably, a player who plays Goblin decks, not a Goblin, literally. But if you play Goblins, you probably enjoyed having turn 1 wins with Name Sticker Goblin, but it was pretty bad for everyone else. Okay, my opponent don't want Show and Tell, they need something else. Pyroclasm, that's fine. Again, unexpected. So my opponent is messing around with a non-traditional build with several answers. My opponent came back as a blue-red tempo control deck here, but we'll still have the win even after Pyroclasm because of Breach from Below. We can now cast Cabal Therapy and bring back our Poxwalker, so we'll have lethal anyways in a couple of turns, as we already had in the previous turn. So, +2 Mace. And now, even if my opponent has a second Pyroclast, let's see. Ponder. I don't know what else my opponent might have. Shuffles. And we won. My opponent conceded. Oof. So, we even didn't need Ashen Rider to win this, but Ashen Rider was a nice plus to have in our starting hand. Let's go to our fourth match. Round 4, we are on the play now against Alpha 85. Oh, this is good. Let's skip it. Oh, this is pretty good. If my opponent is a Force of Will deck, we have several enablers, including Flashback, we have mana. We just need to find Dredgers. We will find them. We have 11 Dredgers in our deck. My opponent had a Mulligan. Usually a combination of LED plus Cephalic Collision is a keep if you have access to Dredgers. Even if we had, instead of Lotus Petal, a Bridge from Below, instead of Faithless Looting, a Poxwalkers, I think I will still keep this hand because of the combination of LED or the Woodley Gaze plus Cephalic Collision. My opponent is deep in the tank with this Mulligan decision. Okay, Mulligans to 5. That's scary. If this is a combo deck, we need to be careful. Okay, they kept 5 cards. Let's start with LED. It resolved. Let's cast Lotus Petal first. And then we'll cast Otherworldly Gaze. If we find Dredgers... Okay, let's play slower, guys. My opponent had a Mulligan to 5. If this is just Oops All Spells, I'll lose my mind, but 2 Narcos. This is actually interesting, because now if I cast Faithless Looting and find a Cabal Therapy, we can check my opponent's hand. So let's cast Faithless Looting. Okay, we didn't. But I'll keep Ashen Rider, because if my opponent has a Show and Tell deck, with a full combo on turn 1, we have an answer. Just a Wasteland, alright. This is not a good play against us after this turn. Okay, now we have a Dredger. Great. So let's attack with Necromoeba first, because we don't have access to Anger. But again, we will probably win this first game, and my opponent will probably concede without revealing what they are playing. I want to know what my opponent is playing, so that's why I just passed the turn. I want more information here. Oh, Windswept Heath. Is this... Oh, Basic Forest. That's scary. Crop Rotation for a Wasteland. Oh, this is such a bad play. Okay, guys. Let's win. Now we know what my opponent is playing. They are probably playing some Depths or even Cradle Control with Crop Rotation. This could be lands, but anyways, this is a green deck, and now we know what to do. I think I will keep this Scouting Turn on top. This way, if my opponent also has something like Tabernacle, we can have Hasty Zombies. Alright, let's draw. This will be a basic mountain, just in case. It's better be safe. Opponent already used 2 Wasteland. And now it makes sense to bring just Ox. And Dredge 5, Dredge 4. Narcomoeba is great. We have 1 bridge there. We can actually... Okay, let's cast Cabal Therapy first, before my opponent comes. Maybe we can have more information. So, another Crop Rotation? Yeah. Okay, it's a different build of Cradle Control with white. We don't have exactly lethal here, but I can bring back Ashen Rider just to deal more damage to my opponent. I need to exile something. I think I'll just exile a zombie token here. Yeah. Oh no! Guys, I was clicking on the zombie token, I promise. I had a mouse slip here, and by just an inch, I misclicked. Oh, this is such a bad punt. It was not on purpose, I swear. We're still going to win this, but now we cannot attack this turn. Oh my god. Okay, my opponent still conceded. Okay. Let's pay attention. I was moving the arrow to the zombie, and then I clicked just a millisecond before the right moment. Okay, Unmask. We don't need much more than Unmask against this opponent. They will probably not have ley lines. Cradle Control of any kinds usually have access to Endurance these days. Sometimes Fire Macabre Surgical, but we fear Endurance and Crop Rotation to Bujukabo. Alright, this hand is not that good. It is promising. If we find a Dredger on top, this hand is promising. Or any enabler, any other enabler will put this hand on top. My opponent kept 7 though. Do we keep it? Okay, let's keep it. Let's keep it, because we have Lotus Petal here and Cephalic Collision. Okay, my opponent has just a Nubble. So we have so many good draws here. Let's see. Narcomoeba is not one of them. Definitely. Okay, how to sequence that? Volcanic Island. Let's hide information here, because maybe my opponent has a Collector Oath in their deck. So let's not show our artifacts yet. Gaia's Cradle. Badger, alright. So my opponent can tap Gaia's Cradle for 4 mana. A Natural Order, okay, it's a good card. Probably an Atraxa at this point of the game. Yeah, Atraxa. Not a great Atraxa. My opponent can grab only 3 cards here. Crop Rotation, land, and 1 creature. Probably more mana or... Yeah, mana or Cub are my opponent's option. Yeah, land, Crop Rotation, and Cub. Okay, so let's clear this. And we need a good top deck, but my opponent's hand is not that great. Come on deck. Not exactly what we want. Now what? Do we wait? My opponent will probably just hold crop rotation if they have... It's rare, but sometimes your opponents on green decks like this, it's rare, but sometimes they will not have... Okay, let's do it, guys. They don't have Bojuka Bog, that's why my opponent played... Okay, let's try to win this game this turn. It will not be easy, but we can try. We don't need anything here. Let's discard our hand. For blue mana, this is turn 2, guys. And this play would be even better if we found another breakthrough on top, for example. Okay, we have Narcomoeba, Poxwalkers, Cabal Therapy, Dredge Return. Okay, we might win here. Not win-win, but we can almost win. We can take cards from my opponent's hand. We already have 2 therapies. Oh, we have a good play here. We have access to a pretty good play here. Let's see, we have Ox. Ox draws a card. Yeah, let's keep only LED on top. This way we can even cast Ox of Agonas twice this turn. I mean, we will bring back Ox and then cast Ox after sacrificing it with Cabal Therapy. So many zombos. And let's see if this Ox will be what we need to be. We draw, we dredge, and we dredge. Narcos, so we can even block Atraxa. But let's go further, right? We don't have Anger anymore. Anger is in our sideboard, as it should be against a Wasteland deck. Not against lands, but definitely against other decks. So Cabal Therapy, sacrificing Ox. And now let's name everything my opponent has in their hand. So crop rotation. Oh, now they have a Fiend Artisan. I mean, they already had one. We didn't know about it. Let's clear this. And now it's time to cast our Ox of Agonas. We still have some goodies to find in our deck. Exile. All right. We already have 3 bridges, but I would like to find another Cabal Therapy. Okay, dredge 6. Yeah, 2 therapies there. Now we can just draw. Let's cast our next Cabal Therapy. We have so many zombies that my opponent can even attack and block with Atraxa, gaining 14 life, and we will still have lethal next turn. So Fiend Artisan. 2 more therapies to go. This is just a zombie factory. Like, we are just creating more and more zombies. It doesn't stop. Scythe Cat Cub. And now we still have 1 final therapy just to create more zombies. If my opponent attacks, we block with Narcomoebas, and we have 6 more zombies. This is more than lethal. What can save my opponent here? A Tabernacle could save my opponent, but I don't think my opponent plays Tabernacle. So it is what it is. Let's pass the turn. We have 21 zombies, 2 Narcos, 1 Ox, and 2 Poxwalkers. Opponent drew something good. They are thinking. Oh, my opponent is saying here on the chat, GG's big fan. Forgot my Bojuka Bog at home. Yeah. All right, we won 2-0. Don't forget your Bojuka Bog at home, guys. Not if you have Dredge players around. Let's go to our final match. We are playing for a trophy. Final round, guys. This hand is awful. Let's mulligan. We are on the draw, but I don't like this hand as well. Let's mulligan. Oh, no. Let's go to 4. Okay, this can be a turn 1 win. My opponent is Manas 2-3-5. Hopefully my opponent is not playing a counterspell deck, because if my opponent counters my LED or my breakthrough, this hand is no good. Thespian Stage, alright, so no counterspells. My opponent kept 7 cards. This is probably lands, and lands is a hard matchup. 2 mana. Oh, immediately crop rotation in the main phase, alright? For Yavimaya, okay. Oh, I see, my opponent, okay. Okay, so my opponent doesn't have a crop rotation active now, and we can win this turn. We even have another dredger, so let's do our best. My opponent tried to maximize their turn 1, but now the road is free. We even have an Ashen Rider here. Let's see if we can find a Dredge Return and... Okay, woo, Faithless Looting. Oh no, we already had a looting there. Okay, so Narcomoeba. My opponent doesn't have Endurance, that's good in the main deck. So Poxwalkers, and now we should probably win here. We just need 1 Dredge Return. Dredge Return, yeah, great. Great. Life is good. Life is good. Winning game 1 against lands feels good, guys. Feels really good. This is one of our hardest matchups. It is our final boss in this Legacy League. So let's name a second crop rotation. Oh, my opponent has Bojuka Bog in their hand, I see. And Pithy Needle. But it doesn't matter because we will just... Okay, let's do this one more time just to create more zombies. We could here do something that I will not do. We could bring back Ashen Rider and sacrifice Ashen Rider to exile Yavimaya and Mox Diamond. But then, if my opponent top decks exactly Tabernacle, this would be pretty bad. So I think I would just keep Ashen Rider around, and then if my opponent has a Tabernacle, we just let Ashen Rider die to exile Tabernacle. This Yavimaya was so important to my opponent, now we don't have it. And we have lethal. So my opponent needs to top deck Tabernacle, and even that way, it is not exactly a great way to win this game. I think we have the win here. Yeah. Oof, so we just need to win one more game. Usually when we win game one and start game two on the draw, we usually don't win because our opponent can have a crop rotation active and hold it. So that's why Unmask is pretty important against lands. Sometimes I also include shenanigans, especially if you see cards like other artifacts that taxes you or something. Sometimes your opponent has a build with more artifacts. There are some differences between different land builds. Some players usually try to include new things. Oh, this is my prize from the Legacy Challenge. All right, I ended on the top 16 with a 5-2 result. Can we keep this? My opponent kept 7. This hand is speculative. Is this right? Speculative? Like, I can question my opponent's hand with Cabal Therapy, and in the same turn, cast Otherworldly Gaze trying to find something else. I don't think this is good, but let's try, guys. Because you saw how I needed to mulligan to 4 on game 1, but this will be different. Yeah, my opponent now, for example, is probably holding a crop rotation. Oh, LED is excellent. LED solves this hand. Okay, there's no guarantees here. I think I'll cast Cabal Therapy with Lotus Petal instead. This way I can have basics. Yeah, for a moment I thought of maybe it's good to grab Underground Sea, but yeah, let's name Crop Rotation. Crop Rotation and Surgical, and Glacial Chasm and Mox Diamond, alright. And a Wasteland. So buckle up, guys. Hold yourselves. This will not be a fast game. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze here. I don't think I will reveal my IDD yet. Oh, Narcomoeba is pretty good. My opponent now needs to target Narcomoeba with Surgical Extraction. And then we can try to win with Cephalic Elysium and LED in the next turn, on the next turn, because my opponent doesn't have anything else. Okay, Narcomoeba is in play. Really? In this case, let's wait one more turn, because maybe we can stay with this Narcomoeba if we find another stuff. My opponent probably prefers to exile. Oh, my opponent has Tabernacle on top of the deck and Mox Diamond. Well, we still have perfect information about my opponent's hand. They discarded Glacial Chasm. Let's pay for this Narco. So this will be even slower game. We draw Looting. Looting is a great draw. So many ways to play around Surgical here. We can even offer Golgari Reef Troll to be Surgical. Oh, now we have 2 Dredgers. Okay, let's discard both of them. Now we can attack with Narcomoeba. My opponent can't do much. Maybe my opponent is waiting to Surgical or Bridges. Wasteland. This is useless. We probably can win in a couple of turns if you play this right, so let's pay attention. I will tap Mountain here to pay Narcomoeba stacks. Do I dredge here? No. Okay, another LED. That's beautiful. Now I think we have it. Let's attack first. Maybe this wasn't right. Maybe I should do everything before attacking because we have anger. But I'm not sure if my plan will work in this turn. I think it will, but we don't know about one of my opponent's cards. They might have a crop rotation, for example. So it's better be safe. 2 LEDs. My opponent can even destroy one of them with Boseija. I'll place a Cephalic Coliseum and let's cast Cabal Therapy, sacrificing Narcomoeba. Now we have an insurance here. If my opponent's play is casting Surgical on one of our Dredgers, we just activate Cephalic Coliseum in response. Oh, my opponent is targeting Looting. That's a creative way to deny us one of our spells, but we can still crack Cephalic Coliseum and cast Otherworldly Gaze. So we have something to do. But this is a creative way to deny our best play here. Unless my opponent also has something like Crop Rotation or Endurance, this will probably not be enough. Let's see. What to name here? This Cabal Therapy will resolve. Let's name a second Surgical Extraction. Just a Mox Diamond, alright. So I think we will do it, right? Let's crack Cephalic Elysium here. We don't have Lootings anymore, but we can cast all of the Otherworldly Gazes that we find. So Dredge, 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 okay. And we might even have Lethal on board, since it will be harder to find Anger, actually. Anger might be on the bottom of our deck. But I'm a believer. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze here. Maybe we have something pretty good on top to win next turn. Like this. Yeah, let's skip Cephalic Elysium, because between Cephalic Elysium and multiple Gazes, we will find Anger next turn for sure. We just need to dodge one top deck from my opponent. If they top decks Crop Rotation or a second Surgical, or I don't know if they have Endurance, something like that, we will not be in a good position. We could go for it right now, but I don't think so, guys. We need so much luck to find exactly Dread Return and Ashen Rider on the top 2 or 3 cards. So let's wait one more turn, and next turn we have the win guaranteed unless my opponent top decks something here. Is this our trophy coming? My opponent is paying mana for something. Oh, my opponent is Boseija or LED. I don't want to search for anything because we have such a good card on top, so let's just cast Otherworldly Gaze here to have pick. Okay, we can put Synchro Imp and Otherworldly Gaze into our graveyard. I don't need another land, I just want Cephalic Coliseum. With this Cephalic Coliseum, we'll probably, just boots for my opponent, we'll probably find Anger, unless Anger is on the bottom 3 cards of our deck. So let's not pay for anything here. This way we'll create more zombies. It doesn't matter attacking with the single Poxwalkers. We need to find Anger to win this turn. 8 zombies, we have lethal. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum and find Anger. This is the truth. This is the moment. Dredge 6, Ashen Rider. Ashen Rider is also good. Dredge 6, Anger. Anger is there. And Dredge Return and Ashen Rider. Beautiful, beautiful. We don't even need Ashen Rider. And this is the second time I tell you this in this league, right? I told you this. We didn't need Ashen Rider to win. Oof, this is our next trophy. Guys, I've been winning a lot with this deck. A lot. And this was a fast league, right? It took me only 1 hour and some minutes to have this 5-0. We lost only one game, and because I sideboarded to fight Leyline instead of Fairy, we are in 2nd place on the trophy run. All right, guys, what a great league! It's always good when we get a trophy here on this channel. I'm pretty happy with the deck, like you probably saw here today, right? We had 5 different matches against Tempo, Combo, Lance, Cradle Control. What was our second match? Against Eldrazi, so aggro, control, tempo, everything, and we combo. And we had great matches against everyone. So I am pretty confident on this build. If you have any doubts, if you want to check with me here on this channel, ask here. Anything in the comments. I am always doing my best to answer everyone here on the comments. But of course, if you want to support me and being close to this project, please go check my Patron page. Ashen Rider was pretty good, even when we managed to win games without it. Having access to it always brought us a sense of being not ahead, but having something in our sleeves against our opponent. I mean, we can... Okay, we are slightly behind here. My opponent has a Tabernacle. I know that if I find Ashen Rider or Anger, I have a chance to win. Oh, okay, my opponent is digging to find Show and Tell. Okay, I have an Ashen Rider in hand. So if that happens, I know I can still win the game, and so on. Unmask is incredibly important, and don't forget your unmasks, your full playset. Don't forget it at home, because they are pretty good, especially in this metagame, when sometimes you need to fight Endurance, Fair Macabre, counter spells. Even we had no true control matchups today, just Cradle, Control, and Lance. For us, they act like control decks, but Unmask can take a Containment Priest on turn 1. Unmask is pretty good, so please go after your full playset of Unmask. That's pretty much it. We will have soon. We will have a new edition. We will have Lowering, and I have some ideas for new decks, including some cards of this new edition. So if you want to see me playing one of the new cards here in Legacy or other formats, please let me know here in the comments as well. One of them is Moon Shadow. See you soon on our next video. Bye.